Mr. I didn't like Mr. What is your protocol college? Is this uncomfortable to call Mr. Chris Daniels all the time, or is it your
Ministerial businesses have established to become the center of our communities and the engine of economic growth. It gives WhatsApp and Startup India immense pleasure to recognize their success and further extend support to help their businesses achieve success. We appreciate entrepreneurs and startups who are present here today. We understand that taking time from your businesses to be here is a lot of commitment, so thank you for being here with us today. We are also privileged to have with us Mr. Ramesh Abhishek, Secretary, Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, and Mr. Chris Daniels, Vice President, WhatsApp. Thank you for joining us today. May I now call upon Mr. Ramesh Abhishek, Secretary, Department of Industrial Promotion and Policy, to welcome the audience and give the welcome note. Mr. Abhishek is Secretary of Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, Ministry of Commerce and Industry. He has served as the Chairman of the Board of Forward Markets Commission since August 2011. He has also been a Director of Export-Import Bank of India since April 1st, 2016. He is an IAS officer from the 1982 batch of Bihar cadre. Thank you, sir, and I welcome you.
Very good morning. So you can see that energy levels are going up. Chris, Deepak, other friends. The Startup India program started in January 2016. It was launched by the Honorable Prime Minister himself. And you know, he's a very passionate believer in the power of startups, power of technology, power of youth, power of innovation to change and transform the country. And since then, we have been trying in this department, along with our other partners, stakeholders, to implement this plan and do even more. So it's my great pleasure and privilege to welcome Chris and the entire WhatsApp team, other friends and other colleagues to this event today. We are very glad that WhatsApp is providing this partnership to Startup India program, supporting 5 startups with cash prizes of up to $250,000, giving them Facebook marketing credits of a similar amount to a larger number of startups. And I'm sure that this is going to be the beginning of this partnership, definitely not the end. I was telling Chris that we are so fond of WhatsApp these days that for me, at least 90% of my activity on the cell phone is only WhatsApp. There's nothing else, actually. Others are not, the others are too transparent anyway. So, about this Startup India program, we have been trying to do many things. One, our fund of funds intervention to put in the early stage venture capital is going really well. Our SIDBI has already taken equity in 30 alternative investment funds, committing more than 1,500 crore rupees. And those funds they have raised, when I last heard a month back, 7,500 crore rupees, and ultimately they will raise 14,000 crore rupees. And we have asked SIDBI to commit 3,300 crore rupees by March next year, so that we are as per the target in committing 10,000 crore rupees in 9 years, and 3 years should have passed by March. And that really is going well, and we get feedback from all over that this really has energized the venture fund capital market in India, particularly for early stage funding. We are also giving support to startups on public procurement. We have now said that you don't need any prior experience or turnover, or you don't need to deposit any earnest money to participate in government or public sector tenders. We have integrated the government e-marketplace platform through which the government and public sector are going to buy all their goods and services with our Startup India portal. And already many startups have supplied goods and services to the government agencies, and this is just the beginning. Our patent facilitation program is also doing very well. We know that with so much of innovation coming from startups and our patent normal examination process being slow, though that is also getting pretty fast now, we have been able to grant patents to 41 startups, about 1 month back again, the data, with an average time of 1 year. One patent was actually granted in 113 days. And if that doesn't impress you enough, the normal time is about 5 to 7 years. So this is the kind of work that we are doing. And while we are committed to protecting innovation in the country for everyone, this is the special facility for our startup friends so that they are able to take advantage of their innovation and commercialize them effectively. There are so many other things, supporting incubators, making them participate in international events, running grand challenges, connecting them with the government departments so that they are able to supply those goods and services to the government departments where the government is perhaps the only buyer in the sector of agriculture or irrigation and health and education. So this kind of partnership also we are trying to promote. And the opportunities to participate in big events. We are sponsoring startups to participate in such events. We have so many international partnerships now through the startup hub that Startup India has created. With Israel, we ran a very successful grand challenge last year. We selected 36 startups, 18 from Israel, 18 from India, and gave them incubation and other types of support. And another very interesting thing we have done in last 1 year is to involve all the states very effectively. You know, India has 29 states, and they are really the main places where startups and businesses work. So it's just not enough that central government and a few states are very good in supporting startups. And the ranking that we started for startups, for states in how much support they are giving to startups, and the capacity building that we have done with them, pairing of the stronger states with the weaker states, and making them visit Silicon Valley and Israel just to see how things are happening. It has been a game changer. Today, 19 states have startup policies. They are helping the startups in procurement, and they are actually giving models to other states to follow. And there are so many other interventions that they are doing. I don't want to take too much time on that, but the fact is that when the central government, state governments, public sector enterprises, they all work together to inject enough public goods in the startup ecosystem, whereby the whole startup ecosystem can prosper. I think that is the most important thing. Last, I just want to mention, we are easing the regulations also for startups. The normal regulations, laws, rules are made for normal companies, not for innovative companies, not with disruptive business models. And in many sectors, there are no regulations whatsoever. It would be ideal if the regulations are not there and startups can prosper. That will be ideal. But sometimes it doesn't give enough confidence to other participants and consumers, particularly in the financial sector. So if you want to really grow beyond a point, then you have to have some regulation that protects the consumers. So we are working with everybody, the tax departments, regulators, and we have been able to simplify 24 regulations in the last 2.5 years. And that is one of the biggest agenda for us. We strongly believe that the biggest role for the government is to simplify regulations so that they support startups and businesses and not obstruct them. So that is one area in which we are working closely with so many partners, and I'm sure that there will be a lot of much more progress in coming years. And all that we are able to do because of the complete support of our Prime Minister. Because the systems are so complex that it's not easy to get things done unless with that support. I'd like to welcome our Honorable Commerce and Industry Minister, Mr. Suresh Prabhu. Honorable Minister has been the biggest champion of startups. He has supported us in all our efforts, and he has led this squarely. So now I think, without much ado, I'm done with my speech. Let me welcome all of you. Let me welcome Chris. Let me welcome all the participants, other members of the WhatsApp team, and other colleagues. And I wish that, and I hope that this partnership will grow from strength to strength. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, sir, for setting the context and sharing with what the work is being done for startups. I think it's very encouraging to hear that. Next up, Chris, I invite you to come and welcome everyone and talk a little bit. And the stage is yours, Chris, please.
Okay. So first and foremost, thanks everybody for having us today. We're really excited about this partnership, as well as about the work that Startup India is doing here. India has a great ecosystem of startups. Startups like Ola, Flipkart, Zomato, Make My Trip, that are really making a huge impact across all sectors of the economy and using the internet to grow much faster than they have been able to in the past and to grow globally. We're extremely impressed by the entrepreneurship traditions in India as well as by the companies that we're seeing come out today. The reason that we're here is because WhatsApp shares a common vision about entrepreneurship. We believe in people, we believe in creativity, and we believe in entrepreneurship. It wasn't long ago that WhatsApp was just a little startup as well. Only a few years ago, a very small company based in California in a tiny office and just a few engineers with a simple idea. The entrepreneurship ecosystem is really absolutely fueled by partnership. So we believe that now that we've become the company that we are, it's our turn to partner with smaller companies to make them successful as well. WhatsApp wouldn't exist without the partnership and the ecosystem around us. Without smartphones from Apple and Google, there would be no WhatsApp. So as the ecosystem grows, there are more opportunities for more startups, and those startups need help and support so that they can become the next engine for economic growth. We're really excited about the partnership that we have with Startup India. We have 3 aspects of the partnership. The first is we're giving out 5 $50,000 awards to startups. The second is that WhatsApp is going to be part of the Yatra Van training program to ensure that we spread the skills that are required for entrepreneurs to succeed. The third is that startups are going to be able to present their ideas at state capitals so that they can get feedback and make the connections that will make them more successful. We're excited that we're able to play a very small part in the great program that has already begun. There are about 50 million SMBs in India. It's such a big number I stumbled on it. It's incredible. 50 million small businesses in India, employing over 100 million people. And those businesses represent about 1/3 of India's GDP. You can really see that entrepreneurism and small businesses are the backbone of any economy around the world. So we're excited to see what the entrepreneurial spirit does in India in the years forward. And I want to, again, extend my thanks to Startup India, to the Honorable Minister, to the Secretary, to everybody here. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for helping us to be part of this great program. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Chris. Now it's with great pleasure that I invite Honorable Minister Suresh Prabhuji, the Honorable Minister of Commerce and Industry, to come and give the keynote. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, friends. When you, nowadays, you want to begin a day, you begin with a WhatsApp. So you cannot start and get up without a WhatsApp. So it's a natural partnership between startup and WhatsApp. And therefore, it is heartening to see that a growing community of WhatsApp users globally will now be part of a great revolution that is happening in India, which is startups. WhatsApp itself is a startup, but has grown into a huge community of people who constantly communicate with each other. Sometimes when they are communicating, the partners are worried whom they are communicating with. Wife is wondering whom the husband is talking, husband is worrying who the wife is talking. But this has become an integral part of a human life. It is a classic example of how an idea can grow into an all-pervading and integral part of a human life. I remember when you were in college, not my generation but later, you'll say, "What's up?" And that's how you picked it up. And that's something which shows that something which was already in vogue, something which was already happening in terms of a conversation between two buddies, has now become a technology platform which is now used as a means of communication, and probably one of the strongest means of communication between the individuals. So that shows, and that's the inspiration that one should draw from WhatsApp success, and the startup should learn from this. So what is the unique about startup? It's something which was already there. It was a means of communication between a very small number of people. But they picked up that name, and they actually got, I'm sure they got the idea from that itself, and now become a huge success story. So all the startups must understand that where we shall make a beginning. We should not scratch our head too much. Otherwise, rather than inventing an idea, we lose our hair. But what we should try to do is actually find out something which is there, but not scaled up. Something which is already in vogue by the people, but cannot be pervading into a different an activity of a kind that becomes a business solution and a business proposition. And that is what is very exciting. Of course, still I don't know how WhatsApp makes money, that's a different matter. But it's a very interesting idea that converting an idea into a business proposition, a business plan, is something which is really necessary for a startup to succeed. So the success will ultimately be measured in terms of your revenue, your bottom line, your top lines, your shareholder value, how much is your valuation, all that will happen. But that's the end result. But for you to first make that break, you must understand which is that idea I must touch, and to make that beginning, which idea I should touch, is something you just look around. Find out something that you can actually come out with some brilliant ideas. We don't have to lock ourselves into the room and think about ideas. I think we should keep our eyes and ears open, and that's how the new ideas will be known to you. And that is something which is so important. So I really congratulate and thank WhatsApp for joining hands with startup, because startup community in India is the future of India. Because I don't see a changing world. And yesterday only I was talking somewhere, I talked many times, so I don't know where I was talking, but I was speaking about this, the future of jobs. And where is the world going to go? I think the whole world is changing so dramatically that the world itself will be unrecognizable after some time. And therefore, the only way we can actually make a mark is to be a startup of our own, rather than waiting for somebody going somewhere. That was the old time. But the ministers earlier, in the morning we'll get about 10,000 people waiting in queue, wanting a letter of recommendation for a job. So that time the letter could get a job. Nowadays letter will go, and then after some time will come and the letter has given, nothing has happened. Because there are no jobs of that kind that existed. But that doesn't mean that jobs are not there. There are many jobs which can actually make you far better off than that note would have given you an opportunity. And that is what we should try to learn, and that's where the startup's future lies. That's where the world's future lies. So aligning our future with where the world is going is the success story. And to align where the world is going, to understand where the world is going, you must look around the world. And that's what the WhatsApp was born. That's how your new ideas will get fruitified, and that's what you should try to do. I'm very happy that you are giving a very handsome amount, $250,000? $250,000. Can I apply? Because this is something which is a great opportunity for startups. I think 5 of them will get this, right? So I think the challenge, and that's a good idea, because you should never give away something just like that. It's a challenge. So we must actually try to work on this aggressively, think differently. But differently doesn't mean think something which has no relationship with real world. That is another important thing. That we think I am thinking so differently, but I am only losing money. Obviously, because what you are thinking differently has no relationship with what people want. And therefore, getting yourself grounded into the today's world, but without forgetting that today's world is changing. And therefore, I had to change myself, and that is what going to be a success of all of you. I'm very happy that startup will work with us. I think, I don't know how many startup users you have in India. Maybe a few million, I'm sure. Yeah, so I think I'm also one of the startup users. I think I remember old times people will say, I will send you a fax copy. Before that, there was a Xerox copy. Before that, there was some, I don't forget the name. Cyclostelius. That is something cyclostelius. I think I've even forgotten that. So from there now people say, don't worry, send me WhatsApp. Even doctors tell you, if I have cut on my finger, Don't come to me, just send me a WhatsApp, I will cure it. Just imagine the power of WhatsApp. Something which has now become a solution to several of the problems. So no longer distance is a problem, no longer proximity is necessary because physical proximity is necessary. We can actually work on it through this WhatsApp. I am sure WhatsApp will help us to grow more. This is a very interesting market because I am sure even in villages, people are using WhatsApp. I think this is something amazing because WhatsApp is an English word. Many of them may not know English, but they know WhatsApp. This is something very interesting. And therefore, WhatsApp is becoming a generic name, which now nobody else can copy really because there are some others who try to copy it, but very difficult because it's something which is now accepted by people as a solution to many of their problems. So all the best to you. I wish some of you who will win the award will one day become bigger than WhatsApp. And that's what I'm sure WhatsApp will be happy about. And therefore I think, because it's always the case, the creator is happy when the creation grows bigger than the creator. Like a father and mother are happy when the child is bigger than them. And that is what I am sure will happen. All the best to you. Congratulations to both startup community of India as well as WhatsApp community of India. And therefore, I'm sure she's waiting to write my own story. So I think she will also do that. So she has been doing this for a long time and doing it so well. So therefore, I'm sure she's waiting for more stories to come on her portal. All the best to you. Thank you very much.
Sir, it was wonderful to have you and wonderful to listen to you. Thank you so much for being here today and encouraging us. Sir, may I request you to, on behalf of the Ministry and Invest India, give a small memento to Chris. Can we also have... So in case all of you missed it, they just exchanged saying, let's connect on WhatsApp. May I also have Mr. Bagla join us on stage, please? Welcome, sir. So as you know, we are here to announce the Invest India and WhatsApp partnership. This is one of the largest, if not the largest partnership Invest India has made till date. And if we could have all of you please stand up and join us for a photo op. Meanwhile, I'll let you know what the partnership is about. WhatsApp will award $250,000 to the top 5 winners of the WhatsApp Startup Challenge. WhatsApp will also grant $250,000 in Facebook ad credits to drive discovery of their business. As part of this partnership, Startup India's bootcamp will now include tips on how to use WhatsApp for business. We hope to reach over 50,000 startups as part of this van tour. Select Startup India startups will get a chance to present at state capitals where WhatsApp will conduct in-person trainings. So thank you so much. It's great to have this wonderful partnership. Is a panel discussion titled The Story of a Billion Dreams. And may I welcome the panelists. We already have Chris here. Chris is the Vice President of WhatsApp, responsible for setting the overall direction and strategy for the product. He also oversees the design of WhatsApp and the development of its core technology. Previously, Chris was the Vice President at Facebook for Internet.org. He holds a BSc and an MBA from Duke University. Welcome, Chris. Very happy to have you here. Next is Mr. Deepak Bagla, MD and CEO Invest India. Welcome, sir. Mr. Bagla is the Managing Director and CEO of Invest India, the official investment, promotion, and facilitation agency of the Government of India. He brings 2 decades of work experience, starting with the World Bank in Washington, D.C., followed by a stint with a major Indian business conglomerate where he was involved with corporate planning and establishing greenfield projects. May I also invite Rajesh Mago, co-founder, CEO, Make My Trip India. Welcome, Rajesh. Rajesh has played a leading role in consolidating the company's market leadership position in India's online travel industry, where Make My Trip clocked over $4 billion of gross bookings, serving the travel needs of 15 million customers in financial year 2018 alone. And to moderate the panel, may I invite Shraddha Sharma, founder, Your Story. Shraddha is the founder and CEO of India's largest digital media company covering startups and entrepreneurs. Welcome, Shraddha, and I now hand over the proceedings to you. Just a little note, since it's a partnership and we have WhatsApp here, we're going to be doing things differently. You can ask all your questions connected to the panel on that WhatsApp number, and we will be taking up the questions from there. And the number's on the screen there. Over to you, Shraddha.
Thank you. Thanks, Tanvi. Very good morning, and honored to be here, and I'm sure all of us are. And I'll be, partial to say that we are all excited to have WhatsApp. And Chris Daniel, you are the star right now. And Deepak, you'll be okay to hear that, right? Like he's the, so we are like excited because as Honorable Minister said, we are all using WhatsApp. In fact, today I was forced to come here on time by someone messaging me 100 times on WhatsApp. So delighted to be here, and let's get into questions. Chris, I'll start with you. What do you think is, and I'm sure we've all read, we all follow, we all use, but what do you think has led to this phenomenal success of WhatsApp?
So from my point of view, it echoes a little bit of what the minister said, which is we had a very simple idea, which is we wanted to let people communicate in a private and secure way. And that is what has really led to WhatsApp's success. We keep the company focused on 4 values: simplicity, quality, security, and privacy. And everything we do in the company focuses on those values and delivering that value to users and ensuring that our product remains a utility that they can use to communicate in everyday life. So I think having strong philosophies to guide us, as well as simply having the insight that the world was ready for a simple communication tool on smartphones, was probably what led to its success.
Thank you so much. Deepak, question to you. And I'm sure everyone here knows it, but Chris, again, you would have got information about him, but he's one of the architects of building the Startup India from behind. He's like doing a lot of things to build from the government side, the whole Startup India movement. Deepak, share with us, what have you seen from 2016, particularly when Prime Minister announced the Startup India movement, to now? Do you see tangible changes, improvements? We do. What is your say?
Thanks, Shraddha. One, I don't think I'm the architect. I think it's the team here. And just to put it in perspective, Invest India is just the execution arm of Startup India. So that's the reason why I sit here. Past 36, 38 months, India today is now number 3 in the world in terms of unicorns, number 2 in the world in terms of number of startups, and number 1 in the world as the new run-up, that is the new startups adding every day. We are close to 4 today. Now, is entrepreneurship new to India? Not really. Chris mentioned we'd have about 50 million MSMEs. They're all entrepreneurs. But I think innovation is something which was inborn and which has now been enkindled where India is concerned. I have Shraddha sitting on my left. I mean, it's a brilliant story sitting here. We have yours, which is making the entire world go around in circles today. That's another one. And I think the number of ideas and innovations which are happening at grassroots level in India is where the big movement is now beginning to come in. I must share with you, So on Startup India, we've done over about 100,000 queries. You know what's interesting? Over 70% of those queries are from tier 2 and tier 3 cities of India. The engine, the future engine of growth of India has moved beyond the 5 metros and the 27 metros. It's now moved to the villages of India. And that is where it is making growth inclusive. That's where it is making growth a very sustainable engine. And you will see that inflection point where we are today take shape in the next 36 months aggressively. So Chris, you are here at a very opportune time. And for us, it makes immense sense, and I'm sure it will be for you too. So we really thank you for all the support.
Thanks, Deepak. So Rajesh, I'll come to you because I'm sure all of you must be thinking, what is he doing here with Invest India and WhatsApp? And a very successful entrepreneur. Make my trip for all of us. Whenever we used to travel abroad, and I don't know if you guys agree or if there's a change. Now we have Flipkart story, but for the longest time, if people ask what's the success story and what's the big exit and what's the big listing out of India, it was Make My Trip. So we all owe a lot to what you guys have done in the country for the brand, the image, and actually creating jobs, doing everything. And personally, I love the company, and so do all of us. Tell us why you are here and what are you doing with WhatsApp?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much you've been very, very kind today. Yes, we've been around for as long as the internet industry is here, probably can say, and maybe some of you would call us monsters or whatever, but we started back in 2000 and it's been an incredible journey, quite honestly, with many highs as we've gone through the journeys and many downs as well as we've kind of weathered all the storms along the way. But what are we doing now and where are we going from here? One of the themes that we started working on, given that everybody knows the internet stats today, 500 million internet users, anywhere between 75 to 100 million who are actually buying, who are doing e-commerce. And one of the problems or the challenges or the opportunities that we were looking at when we were thinking ahead from our point of view, where do we go from here? And one of the themes that we had was that can we reach to the next 100 million now? While we are trying to, serve now, like I said, anywhere between 75 to 100 million top, like Deepak mentioned, tier 1, tier 2, perhaps all the metros and beyond metros, maybe, extended metros in some of the tier 2, tier 3 cities as well. But is it actually now going to tier 3, tier 4 and all? And that was one of the objectives that we had. And as we were brainstorming, within our teams, and we realized WhatsApp could be one of the very, very important, credible tool that we could perhaps leverage to reach out. So we all know, perhaps, I don't know, I know it's a moving number, about 250 million engaged users on WhatsApp. And we couldn't think of any other better platform for us to be able to kind of reach out and extend our reach to tier 3, tier 4, and potentially even actually rural areas, because we do have products, whether it's a rail transport or a bus transport that we are actually offering to, and then getting into very small budget, ultra budget kind of accommodations, etc. as well. And we have plans to expand into other products as well. So from a reach perspective, that's where we thought that we would be able to leverage. And that's when the business APIs of WhatsApp was announced. And we were the first ones to, given that we were already, it was in our largest schema of things in terms of strategic thinking. And we said, okay, perfect timing. And let's start in what I think WhatsApp and us called as beta partnership or whatever. And we started doing it. And I don't know about, love to get WhatsApp team's reaction and comments on this. But the way we started moving with use case after use case after use case, even they were surprised and said, probably telling us to just slow down. I was coming here, and yesterday I had asked our product managers who's kind of working on this, this new theme of reaching out to 100 million, next 100 million. And I said, okay, what is that you want me to talk to Chris since I'm meeting him besides the panel? So there was a long list of asks that came back from them, which we've been working with them and they've been expecting. And one or two of the biggest ones were, and I'm sure, I don't know whether, Chris, I will translate it for you separately, but it's like, dil mange more kind of a list, the heart wants more. We want to do more and more. And I'll tell you that the basic premise of all of this, frankly, it's not necessarily for anything else. It's actually taking the customer experience and convenience to a completely different level. I can give you 20 use cases that we are already doing where just the experience is just going phenomenally, well received by the audience. I'll tell you, 2 or 3 big ones. We're trying to do everything. Once you've done the booking, historically there would be emails and there would be SMSs, and we have to actually reach out to, all the customers to give the basic information, right, in terms of just e-ticket and the vouchers and so on and so forth, so that the fulfillment is seamless and frictionless. I kid you not, we struggle for as basic as that because you have to, and therefore the cost also goes up. So you have an email and you have an SMS and you have a call, you have like multiple systems that we are using, and everyone has an open rate of, very, very poor, if I may use that word. Come to WhatsApp, we started doing that, the first basic use case, and can we deliver the basic information which will have like a very close to 100% delivery rate and read rate? We've come very close to, it's about 85% and we want it to get to 95%. And we believe WhatsApp can potentially do it because it's just as basic as it can get, because, you don't want customer to, having paid and, wondering where's my e-ticket and where's my voucher for hotel booking and so on and so forth. As basic as that, but very powerful, right? And that has been the real use case. And then there is, selection of seats on WhatsApp. We've launched a flow where you can actually select your seats on WhatsApp because everyone is kind of used to, no one really wants to now call and go through the pain of call centers, if I may call it, because it's just not a great experience at times because it's just very, it's not easy to manage that at that scale and so on. No matter what we focus on and what investments we put behind, it's just the communication medium and the tool has its own inherent kind of limitations. So working beautifully, we are actually pushed the use cases where we are trying to say, you can modify, you can cancel your tickets, etc. through WhatsApp. We have also pushed WhatsApp. We haven't really got them to agree to build that as a platform, is to log in via WhatsApp, like log in via WhatsApp, Facebook, right? And so I guess, I hope our teams are doing enough to push WhatsApp as much as possible to be able to just get to actually even bigger from here, more from here, make the difference in consumers' lives, if you will. Yeah?
I'm jealous of you, Rajesh.
Why?
Because WhatsApp is not opening to platforms like ours. Matlab, we are the untouchables right now. So, but amazing, and I'm sure most of us get SMS. I do, WhatsApp. Sorry, I shouldn't say SMS, right? It's a passe. I get WhatsApp for Make My Trip, and it's very, very convenient, especially when you have to show it to the guard at the, and then you don't need the printouts anymore. So
I didn't even talk about pictures and photos, right? I mean, the classical use case that WhatsApp has actually solved for. I'm telling you, even the drivers and the domestic help at home, everybody is so well versed with WhatsApp.
Yes, yes.
And they've got quite used to it. I mean, there are people that I know who would never and who would have a lot of money, and we have a lot of customers, and a lot of the India is actually likes to travel because they have money. But I don't think they could ever get used to themselves writing an email.
Yeah.
And they're loving this, right?
Yes.
Medium, Insight, everything that I can solve for. I can send passport, scan copies, I can send pictures, I can interact,
Yeah.
kind of confidently with using WhatsApp.
Yeah. So Chris, if you can elaborate more, about the business apps and the API and what is WhatsApp, how is WhatsApp helping companies such as Make My Trip from, different examples from across the world. what's happening and what can we expect?
Yeah. So the primary thing that we're trying to do for the app itself is just to make it a great private communication medium. So it's already used today globally for people to communicate with friends, with family. There's also strong use cases around people communicating with businesses or within the business or the office that they work in. So it's really already used quite ubiquitously. The thing that we're trying to do is we're trying to simply build more tools to make those communications more useful. And we apply that to businesses as well. So when we thought about what are the use cases that people will want to communicate with businesses for, it came down to, I can only get to a list of maybe 5 things that people in businesses want to do together. The first thing they want to do is they want to identify a business. So we're giving businesses an identity on the platform. They can set up their identity, the name of their shop, with the SMB app or with the API. The second thing that they want to do is they want to understand what inventory is available. And that's already happening on the platform, where businesses are sending photographs or a list of here's the things that we have available. And we could think about building tools to make that easier, whether you're a goods business or a services business. There are certainly ways that we can make that easier to display that information. So we're thinking about some of those. The next thing that people want to do is they want to make a transaction. They want to make a payment. So we're trying to launch payments in India, and we're trying to launch payments globally. And I view payments as simply another form of communication. I view it actually, this may sound strange, but I view it similar to how we have emojis or we just launched sticker packs. Those are just different types of communications that are communicating emotion. A payment is just another type of communication that happens to be communicating via money, via transaction. So we want to add payments just as another form of a transaction or a form of communication. The next thing that people want to do is they want to get some follow-up. I just made a purchase. I want a confirmation of that purchase. I want my boarding pass. I think Make My Trip is really kind of hit the sweet spot of that use case, and our API and our SMB app are really, really good at that use case right now. So it's kind of the follow-up and the customer service afterwards. So customer service being kind of the last thing that people in businesses want to do. So if I look down that list, the thing that we need to do, in my opinion, is we're not trying to make up new ways that people communicate with businesses. We're not trying to change the way that people communicate with businesses. I just want to build tools to make that communication more valuable for consumers primarily, and also for businesses. When you talked about, for example, customer service and the great customer services use cases, people don't want to get on phones, and a little known secret, businesses don't want to get on the phones with people either. It's expensive, it's hard to manage. So actually, doing all of this over WhatsApp just creates value both on the consumer side, that's the one that we care about the most, as well on the business side. So I think you can expect us to simply build more tools. I think the way that Make My Trip is using WhatsApp is a fantastic way to do so. We've also heard other examples of people really increasing their sales because consumers are enjoying communicating with them more than they did in the past. So I think expect us to build more tools to simply harness the power of what people are already doing on the platform.
So how many, is India, and I'm sorry, pardon my ignorance, but is India one of your early markets where the API is being used, or there are some case studies from across the world also?
So it's being used all around the world by big partners right now, and including in India. Some of the case studies around it are things like people getting their boarding passes from KLM, people getting trip confirmations. There are a lot of different uses for it. I don't have like specific case studies if you're looking for them, but we designed it to be a general tool to suit the needs of kind of any business, because all businesses have the set of needs that I articulated. It's pretty standard for most businesses around the world. So I think building the general tools is interesting. One thing that was mentioned is, hey, there are some specific use cases for businesses where they want to, for example, be able to change your seat or select your seat or change your reservation, et cetera. We do want to support that in the product, and I think those interactions can only become richer and richer over time, where there can be simple interfaces as part of your chat that can allow you to do that in easier ways than sending and receiving simply text. So again, that's all in the vein of there are tools that we're envisioning building, and tools that we're enabling, or that we are envisioning giving to businesses to make interactions more valuable.
Great. So Chris, I'm going to come back to you, and just for, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but a background on him that he's been a very successful entrepreneur himself, and he enjoys scaling up businesses. So I'll come back to you on the question of how do you see entrepreneurs scaling and the challenges? Okay, thanks. We'll come back to you on that. But Deepak, to you, question is, what is your vision with Invest India towards building this, this very fast scaling, growing economy?
So what we're working on now is what I can share, and I did mention and allude to it in my earlier remarks, which is actually going down to harness the innovation at the ground level in India. And Chris and I were discussing this briefly before coming here. And there's a new movement which is also now getting introduced. It's called Agni. And Agni means fire, essentially. And the idea is that when the circle gets complete, that means, so as to say, the circuit gets complete, it ignites the fire. And the idea there is, how do we create the last mile for the innovator, with the person with an idea? So what has happened now is, if you go to the Startup India Hub, for instance, if you have an idea, you can try and take it onto a business model. You can try and get the connectivity, which is critical. And now with Chris coming in, that entire joining the dots makes it so much easier. But now the idea in India is at two levels. How do you get every idea down there at the grassroots level, up, and try and take it to a business level in conclusion? That is the biggest challenge for us. And I think the moment we can get around that one is when India really takes off. And there's a whole lot of effort which is going on to that. The second which we are seeing in our path to that objective is that as we see, there's a very large volume of innovation and work which is already happening across the country. There are a number of people who may be working on similar ideas but do not know what the other person is doing. The idea is to bring them together. And the moment we harness that energy in a more concerted fashion, we'll start seeing the results coming out much faster. So what WhatsApp has done, for example, is decrease the time in communication. And the moment we can bring that time to a much shorter level, from an idea to fruition of that idea, I think that's where we will have our success.
Chris, again, what do you think for Indian entrepreneurs particularly, and we are all looking very, in a very focused manner. If you see Indian, I must tell you, Indian entrepreneurs, all of us are looking at scaling, becoming big. There is a huge hunger to grow and become fast, and we all love the word unicorn, though we might crib about it. What would be your suggestions, advice, inputs, based on what you're seeing? You've been a builder and a scale-up guy yourself. What can Indian entrepreneurs do in terms of leveraging technology?
Well, I think the most important thing for an entrepreneur who is looking to scale is to have the support of the community around it. It is exceptionally rare, if not impossible, for a business to go from being small, being zero, to being a big business without the support of the community around it. And so I think it's the responsibility of the set of people who have been both lucky and in some cases skilled enough to have success, that they provide support to the community of entrepreneurs who are up and coming. The hardest thing about being an entrepreneur is you have to be the head of HR, the CMO, the chief product officer, your own legal counsel. You have to be everything at once. And it's nearly impossible to do that unless you have support and you have people who are willing to guide you through those issues. So I think the primary thing that we can all do, including WhatsApp, and this is why WhatsApp is partnering here, is to really provide new entrepreneurs support and a system by which they can have as few obstacles as possible to scaling. You asked more specifically about the role of technology there. I would say simply leverage as much technology as you can. The investments in technology are worth it because they will do nothing but help you grow faster. we're trying to build tools that should, on their own, help people scale their businesses by communicating faster, communicating in a more private and expedient manner. And there are tools available from a variety of companies to either market your service, run your business, and you should invest in those tools so that you can scale as quickly as possible.
And you know, in your interaction with the Indian market and Indian businesses, what would you say would be the top most challenges for WhatsApp to, you know, effectively work with businesses in India?
For WhatsApp to work with businesses? Well, all working with businesses start with communication, and so we're pretty good at that. And so we have a pretty good track record of working with businesses and being able to work with businesses in a pretty fluid sense. If I broaden the question a bit and think about what are the challenges for an entrepreneur generally, it's important that we set up a system that encourages competition. I think competition is at the heart of encouraging entrepreneurs to move fast and aim big. I think that we have to reduce all of the barriers, regulatory, give people tax incentives, provide people services so that they can start their businesses easily. So I think as a community, it's really providing the environment to let entrepreneurs start and grow their businesses quickly is the most important thing.
Yeah, and you know, I got this, so I have to ask this plug question. Can you please tell us a little more about the partnership?
About this partnership?
Yes.
Okay.
I have this, so I have to ask you.
Appreciate it. So I think I've talked a bunch about the partnership when I got up and spoke. At the heart of the partnership is our belief in entrepreneurship and our belief in people and their creativity, and that small ideas can become big. It's part of why we built WhatsApp, is to just encourage communication and encourage ideas to spread. And it's why we keep it private, is so that people can test new ideas and can not have a fear of people reading their messages, etc., so they can feel free to express themselves. So the partnership itself, the specific things that we're doing are threefold again. The first is a total of $250,000 is going to be awarded to 5 entrepreneurs who are, hopefully will use that money to fund the scaling of their business. The second thing that we're doing is, again, getting feedback and support from your community is important. So the entrepreneurs are going to have a chance to present at the state level, at state capitals, their ideas, and then get support, whether it's from investors, from government, or from other businesses, to help them grow, help them refine their ideas so that they become successful in the future. So those are a couple of the things that we're doing in terms of the partnership.
Okay, thank you so much. And this is one question which is not in the question, so I'm going to take the liberty of asking all of you. And you know, whenever we are in the company of successful people we look up to, you know, it's always very intriguing what gets them excited. And most, so I want to ask all of you, what is your vision in terms of your own professional journeys? And also, if I may say, because we are talking about startups, is what's the most exciting thing about engaging or working or being with startups?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, fairly loaded question though. So let me attempt to answer this. You know, just from our point of view, to be quite honest, for the last so many years, when we started, obviously we were super excited to get into it ourselves. You know, knowing very well, I mean, we came out of, actually not necessarily straight out of college. We had like, you know, 8-10 years of corporate experience, and then we got into it. And back then, that's how people used to get into startup. First, you know, have some money in the bag and then get into it rather than just jumping straight. And things have changed and evolved quite a bit ever since then. And I don't think I would be lying, quite honestly, if I would say that we've never looked back. You know, all these years, I don't think we've ever had an opportunity to actually think about how are we thinking about professionally from our individual perspective and so on. And the reality, and the reason for that is that, you know, just you're super busy solving problems. And, you know, setting up a startup in India back then was extremely difficult. and it has never been easy. I mean, it's becoming easier and easier now for the last I think India has made a lot of progress in the last about 5 years, thanks to all of these kind of initiatives that government is taking, Startup India, and also, infrastructure build up and so on. It was never that. And therefore it was even more harder, and therefore, you were like super busy kind of solving for it and all of that. But once you reach a particular scale, then you obviously think about it. And our actually, contribution to be engaged with the other startups has also been there quite a bit actually, where we set up a small fund, which was off our balance sheet, very small fund, to actually promote startups as well. And we started investing, and we do have a bunch of investments actually in small startups, at least about 7, 8 of them that we support, and we've been working, yes, in the periphery of the kind of business that we are doing, but different kind of niches that we started investing in. That kind of helps that, you are kind of engaging and with them and all of that. Within Make My Trip, it's been, like I said, incredible journey and different phases of lives. We recently had, massive transaction where we merged with IBBO Group, and we had like Redbus and Go IBBO and Make My Trip, now 3 big distribution platforms. And that itself was a massive activity. Now, whether they would be qualified as startups or not, sometimes people call us as a startup and Flipkart as a startup. I think they're actually really growing startup. But we all, I'll tell you, internally, the way we operate, we try to make sure that we continue to behave, continue to operate like startups only, just from an agility standpoint, just from making sure that you are innovating constantly. Because one of the risks and the fears that we always have at the back of our mind is when you scale, and for you to scale, you need a lot of things, and you get to a particular size, you don't want to become slow and bureaucratic in the whole thing. So from that point of view, we want to always instill philosophies and processes, and not necessarily go overboard. Easier said than done, because we are a US listed company, but even then, there has been a conscious drive to say that we continuously keep maintaining, let's say, production cycles for our technology at the same speed and the same quality as we used to do it when we were like a small company. And nothing should come in other way and all of that. Like I said, easier said than done, but it's important to set the tone, and we've been doing that. And last but not the least, I guess, I had the privilege of, at least from my point of view, also giving it back. I've been actually on Flipkart board for many years. Right after our IPO, we had common investors, so and they'd approached, and I think they needed help, and that has been an incredible experience, learning experience from my own perspective, and also whatever little that you've learned over the years, that you can also share your experiences as well. So I guess not only that, and then there are people who would probably engage with you and would want to learn from your experiences and so on and so forth. So I guess endeavor is always to stay connected in one shape or the form in the community, whether it is within the company, or it is just helping other startups, or just distributing learnings and experiences and sharing all of that with people. Yeah.
Thanks, Rajesh. And honestly, I have to say it's very good to see you, because it's mostly deep. We see, and I've moderated him so many times, but it's first time, and it's good to hear you. Yeah. Chris?
So your question was, what are we passionate about?
Yeah.
Okay.
You particularly.
Me particularly, the thing that I'm most passionate about is providing value to users. I spend as much of my day's time as I possibly can thinking about what is the value that we're delivering to users, and either protecting that value or expanding that value. And the thing that gets me excited is when we ship a new feature and a new way that people can use the service that they enjoy, and that is delivering more valuable to them. Those are the most exciting moments that I have. Now, the interesting part of the job is that sometimes you end up having to do a whole lot of things that aren't focused specifically on the product to ensure that the organization and the product is delivering value for people. So I also enjoy thinking about what are the ways that we need to relate with governments, what are the ways that we need to relate with partners, what is the culture and what are the values that we want to instill inside the company that will then lead to the outcome of the entire company working together as a team within the communities that we're a part of, the nations that we're a part of, the ecosystems that we're a part of, that are going to deliver value to more consumers. So you end up in the pursuit of delivering great value to consumers, being able to have the privilege of experiencing a variety of different things and driving a variety of different initiatives that all really ladder up at the end of the day to delivering value to consumers. And that's the thing that gets me personally most excited, and that I enjoy the most about everything that I do.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris. That was beautiful. Deepak?
My turn.
Yes.
So Shraddha, how old is your startup?
10 years now.
Okay. That makes me the youngest startup on this platform. And I can't say that for myself. I mean, I guess I'm the oldest person sitting here. Invest India is a startup of the Government of India. We are essentially 36 months old. And we have Suyash and Digvijay walking in, and we have some of the others. It'd be great if we can see you all, because I need to speak about you. What is this startup about? And you know, of 3 decades of my life, which include, you were kind, you said 2 decades, but it shows that it's obviously more than 3, which included over close to 2 decades as an investment banker and a decade as a private equity person. This has been the most exhilarating 36 months of my life, and I'll tell you why.
Okay, we need to clap to that, no?
No,
That
no.
someone is having a great...
Oh, absolutely. It's unmatchable. Today we have 120 with our team. My average age is 29. Each one is from the top schools, from the top work backgrounds. Every person in the team has taken a 7 to 95% pay cut to join. And you asked me what drives it? It's the passion to make India. In 36 months' time, and what you would say is a tagline which we just added, the world's most awarded agency, at a budget which is less than 3% of that of my competitors, Invest India last week again got the highest UN honor for being the #1 investment promotion agency of the world.
Amazing.
And I know I'm not trying to show off, but in many ways I am. And the reason why I say that is because the passion of this team is unbelievable. I've been through organizations which have been rated some of the best in the world. There was a passion in that. But this is a passion which is beyond one's own self. None of them have stock options, Chris. None of them have the salaries where you can fund other startups and make those changes. They work relentlessly day and night to make India happen. What you've seen on Startup India, today Invest India individually is facilitating over $100 billion of investment with 1.7 million job creation in 36 months. Nobody believes it. And it's always been under the radar. It is this passion which is what I think we miss out when we grow larger, and which is what you were talking to. And I think the only difference between a passion which you have in your team and the one here is that this is a passion for a much larger cause. It's a cause which goes beyond each and every individual. And I know we are running out of time, but you're telling me that. But once you ask me this question, it never ends, Victoria. And the reason why I say that is because the moment you have a thought which is greater than you, it will take you the longest way. I learned this only after 3 decades of my life. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you. We are running out of time, but I will quickly, and if you could give very short answers. Anyways, Chris, you are not Indian, so you are giving short answers. So, but very, very quickly, because it is a very big compliment, and it is also a very big compliment to us Indians. 3 questions, and I'm sure people have this, and we don't want them to leave without these questions answered. I'm quickly going to read it all. Yeah, and you could see which ones you have
the
to
speed
answer.
round here.
Yeah. Facebook announced plans to start monetizing WhatsApp for Business. Can you elaborate on the plans? 1, WhatsApp for Business is open to registered businesses. Do you plan to make it more accessible to small businesses as well? 3, a TechCrunch report said that Facebook could start running ads on WhatsApp. Do you plan to allow businesses to run ads? If so, how? Since WhatsApp is end-to-end encrypted.
Yep. Okay, so I think the first and the third question are quite related, which is around monetization plans for WhatsApp. We already announced that we're going to be putting ads in status, and so that's going to be a primary monetization mode for the company, as well as an opportunity for businesses to reach people on WhatsApp. So that's kind of the simple answer there. Remind me the middle question. I can't believe I forgot it.
WhatsApp for Business is open to register. Do you plan to?
All right. So WhatsApp for Business is an API solution for big customers, but for smaller businesses, they just should use the SMB app. And the SMB app has been downloaded millions of times. I think we said it's got about 3 million active businesses on it. If I'm not mistaken, we announced that yesterday. And then so it's got about 3 million businesses, and it's got all the tools that a small business would need. So that's the, call it the small business tool set.
Yeah.
And I expect the vast, vast majority of businesses on WhatsApp to be using the SMB tool, the small business app.
Great.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Great job, Chris, because you answered it very fast, and we've got all the answers, and we are very, very delighted to have all of you, such amazing, successful leaders, give us insight into this alliance and this partnership. And please spread the word. Let's get 250,000 K as prize. Right? So let's, हिंदी में बोलूँगी, जाके बोलिए पैसे की बहुत ज़रूरत है स्टार्टअपों को, जो इस होटल्स के बाहर रहते हैं, और उनको ये बताइए ताकि वो अवेल कर सकेंगे. बहुत ही important announcement है. So yeah. Yes, so thank you so much. Let's give a big round of applause to Chris, Deepak, and Rajesh. Yeah.
Thank you.
Now that's it? Yeah, that's done, right? Very exciting and informative panel discussion. And before I let all of you go away, I have a wonderful, wonderful story to share with everyone. May I request Priya from Unique Threads to come and share her SMB user app story? And I'll let her talk about her story and how she's grown her business to serve customers globally. Welcome, Priya.
Good morning, all. I'm Shanmuga Priya. I'm the founder of Unique Thread Service. I'm from Chennai. In 2014, after my son was born, my mother-in-law passed away in a month. So I have to quit my job and take care of my kid from home. So I thought what meaningful I can do from home. So my mother-in-law was doing a sari business. So I thought, why not I continue with the sari business? So I went to the local market and procured 20 to 30 saris, hardly, and started selling it to the neighbors. But I faced a difficulty to take care of my kid and to serve my customers. So the idea clicked, why not I take a photograph and sell it through WhatsApp? So initially I started with the family and friends group. So slowly, like many people from the family, they requested why not they wanted to be resellers, like they wanted to buy my product and sell it to their customers. So initially I had 10 to 12 people, but now I have 2,000 plus resellers who sell my product to the end sellers. So initially like I use the WhatsApp. So WhatsApp is my business. To do my business, it's an organized way. I use only WhatsApp. In WhatsApp, I use different label features to reply immediately. If I'm out of the office, I use out of office. If my product is sold, the automatic reply or away messages that I use in. And also I have customers from all over the world, from US, Australia, UK. So I sell all the products to WhatsApp alone. Initially in the first year, my sales was around 2 crores. And this is the third year I'm into. Last year it was about 4 crores. So I have 6 employees and I have a godown at home. It is operated from my home. I have 2,000 plus resellers as on today. And it is not only the resellers have the resellers. So again, I'm supporting the women who are at home as an entrepreneurs. And it is not only the working, the people at home. It is also the working people who I'm engaging them, who are selling my product. I'm trying to give it in a different way. Wherever they are, they can sell my product. Wherever they are in the locations, they can buy my product. So it's all through WhatsApp. So I really thank WhatsApp for giving this opportunity like us to empower and do our dreams to come true. Thank you so much.
And as we wrap up, may I please invite Pragya Maheshi, Policy Communications Manager, WhatsApp, to just come and thanks and wrap up the event.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to thank everyone, especially the panelists and the speakers, and Shraddha and Rajesh and Mr. Bagla. I think this is a start of a lot of engagement with entrepreneurs and startups that you're going to see. And Priya is actually a testament of that, of how we support small businesses and also entrepreneurs to grow their business where they are. And I think that's most businesses are already using WhatsApp to run their operations and also to reach out to their customers. I have learned the few months that I've been here that WhatsApp is actually the first point of digital presence that a lot of small businesses have. They may not have a website, they may not have a Facebook page, but they do and are available on WhatsApp. So we encourage businesses to be where their customers are, which is on WhatsApp. So yeah, you'll see many more interactions like this moving forward. We're looking forward to impacting 50,000 plus entrepreneurs, as you saw. So we'll be obviously talking to you and engaging with you. And we'd love to hear more about how you're using WhatsApp and hearing your user stories. So do write into us. Thanks again. Thank you.
And thank you everyone for being a great audience. There's tea and refreshment outside and a good opportunity for all of us to network. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.
Kindly.